Remember what I said about LIFO? It's about the last inventory going out first. So the last born is going out first, the last child is going out first. The youngest, the newest is going out first. That's about the last thing first out. Now, how does it work for the valuation? We start with the same approach we used for the FIFO, the opening. We open with 300 units, remember, at $3, and that gives us 900 valuation. So this is units, this is price, and this is value. Take note, that's what we want to build on, just like we did for the other one. Yeah, similar approach. So that's our opening. After opening, series of activities happened. The first one is the first receipt. And our first receipt on the 5th of January, we bought 300 units at 2.1, and that gives us this 630. So just similar. So we have 630, 880, 630. We'll close that, we'll close that. 600 units and 1530. We had second receipt, 400 units. That was at 2.2. That was bought at 880, I believe, yes, to give us 2410. Then we had third receipt. Third receipt was 200. That closes at 1,200. And we bought that 200 at 2.3. So that gives us, I think that's 460. Yeah, to get to 870. 460. And that closes at 2870. Now, the direction changes here when we had our first sale. And the first sale, the quantity that we sold was 400. We're talking about the first child. The last child is now the first to go out this time around. The last child is this guy, 200. But we want to sell 400. So what we must do first, we'll sell the last child first, then we'll go to the next one. So we'll sell it at 2.3. We'll go to the next one, which is this one, another 200. We're going to sell at 2.2. So which means we're selling 2.3 times 200, and that's 460. And we're also selling 2.2 times 200, and that's 440. So close all of that. We're going to have 800 left, and that 800 will be valued at 2870 minus this, so minus 460 and minus 440. That ends up with 1970. We keep going because that is not the end. There are more activities that took place. Another sale happened on 10th of February, and this time around 300 units. Remember, out of this one, we have 200 left. We sold all of this 200. We had 200 left on this one. So that's the first thing we need to sell here. And we'll be selling it at 2.2. And with that, we are done with this batch. However, we still need another 100 to sell. So that takes us to the next batch, which is here. So we'll go there. We're going to be selling that 100 at 2.1. That means we will be left with 440 here going out and 210 going out. And we're going to close this with 500 units left. And the value of that 500 left will be 1970 minus 440 minus 210, and that give us 1320. And lastly, we bought again, so we had another receipt, which is the fourth one. How many units? 350 units. We bought at 2.5, and the value of that is 875. So this leaves us with 850 units at the end, and the valuation of that stock at the end will be 1320 plus 875. So using LIFO, the value of that stock is 2195. So which means with LIFO, we are still left with same 850 units as we expect, which agrees with this. However, the value is 2195. You can see the value is different from the FIFO value, which is 1995. You can see that with this, you expect company to they might actually start playing games to see how they can use a method to increase the value of their inventory, and that is why the standard on inventory, which is IS2, said one or two things on how to value inventory in terms of what method to use and what method not to use. Ladies and gentlemen, LIFO method is no more allowed by IS2, but you are still required to know how to calculate it. FIFO is allowed and weighted average method is allowed, but LIFO rather is not allowed in reporting. So you can't use this in reporting any longer, but it's interesting that you are still required to know how to do the calculation and you can be tested. So please take note of that, and that is LIFO. The simplest one is the average method, which is what I want to deal with now. I hope it's going to be the simplest for you as well, but honestly I think it's the simplest out of all of that. Here your objective is to be able to calculate the unit price, the unit price, of at every point in time. At every point of activity, because it's the unit price that you know after the activity that you have to use, that you need to use if there's any sale that is going on, and I'm going to demonstrate it to you. So let me call it average unit price so that it's clear every time. So that is what we want to do and see the way it's going to work. The same approach we've been using. We have opening. You see, we're going to add a different, just one column in addition to what we've been doing. So we have the quantity, we have the cost, we have the value, then we need to have the average unit price. So we need the average unit price. So you can see that I've added one more column, which is this last column. Before we only have three columns: column 1, column 2, column 3. Now maybe with this one 4, right? But now we now have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So what the way we're going to do it? So we're still going to start with the opening. Remember, our opening is 300. We bought it at $3. The value will be 900 for sure. The unit price is now the value divided by the quantity. So for the opening, it remains $3 because 900 divided by 300 is $3. Now we have the first receipt. And our first receipt was 300. We bought it at 2.1, and the value was 630, I believe. Yes, here, 630. So which means we close with a value of 600, with a quantity of 600. However, the value is 1530. So that's the end of an activity. In that case, we need to determine our weighted average price, and that will be 1530 divided by 600, and that is 2.55. So you can see where this is slightly different. So that's the unit price. We have another second receipt. So if you are selling before this second receipt, you'll be selling at 2.55. That is how weighted average method works. Now, you are not selling, but rather you have another receipt of 400 units that you bought at 2.2. And the value is 880. So you close at 1,000 units. However, the total value is 1530 plus 880. That's 2410. So your weighted average price, which you must calculate after every activity, is 2410. This divided by 1,000, which is 2.41. So you have 2.41. That's how you have closed. Then you move on to the next activity that took place in the year. I hope this is making sense. So we'll close the first receipt. We've done our valuation. We've done our valuation. We'll close. We've done our valuation. We'll close. Then we'll go to third receipt. What happened? The third receipt. 200 units this time around, but at 2.3. So that's 460. And when we close, we have 1,200. Then the value will now be 2870. Then we need to calculate our weighted average price, which will be 2870 divided by 1200. And that is 2.39. So if we need to sell, which is going to happen right now. So sell, how many units? This time around 400 units. Now we don't need to be doing first thing, last thing, or whatever it is. We are going to sell at the last valuation, and that means we're going to be selling at 2.39. And the value that will be going out will be how much? Let's check. That will be 2.39 multiplied by 400, and that is 956. So we'll be left with value of 800 here, and 800 units is valued at how much? 2870 minus 956, and that's 1914. And remember, you must always do evaluation after each activity. So that's 1914 divided by 800. The remaining items we have is now valued still at 2.39. That's what I got. Yeah, it's not this 2.39. It's 1914 divided by 800 that gives this 2.39. Please take note. Then, ladies and gentlemen, it has not ended. There was another sale. This was the first sale, and this is the second sale. Oops. So, talking about this one. Good. Yeah. So we'll keep going. Second sale happened. This time around 300 units. Remember, it's going to be sold at the last valuation. 2.39 was the last valuation, and that will be valued at 2.39 multiplied by 300. That's 717, and that will make us to close at 500. However, our new valuation will be 1914 minus 717, that is 1196. Yeah, 1914 minus 717. Yeah, 1196 point something. So maybe I just make it 1197. Yeah, just to approximate it. So Curtis, we have 1197 left. So we need to do valuation, remember, as we usually do. And that will be 1197 divided by 500. And that is 2.39. Interesting. 1197 divided by 500. Okay, it's 2.39. Interesting. It's still that valuation, 2.394, right? We've done the valuation for that activity. So the last activity is another receipt. So we have the fourth receipt, the fourth one. And this time around, that was 350 units at 2.5. And that is valued at 350 at 2.5. That's 875. So we close with 850 units valued at 1197 plus 875. That's 2072. That's $2072. But remember, your work is not over. You must do valuation after the activity. Divide by 850, and that is 2.44. So that is when you are done. So using weighted average method, it means you still have 850 units, which is very consistent with here. However, the valuation is $2,072, and this is equivalent to $2.44 per unit of items. So if there's any sale happening again, you'll be selling at 2.44. That's everything you need to know about material costing. Now we've successfully covered all the outlines that we plan to cover at the beginning of this series. We've looked at the introduction, we looked at the ordering process, we looked at the inventory costing, the control. We've gone about the management, which we look at how to reduce the cost and how to manage the quantity as well, and likewise how to do the valuation. Please continue to like these videos, put your comments. I love people reaching out. I like that, but I also appreciate you put your comment on the channel as well, so that others can also learn from it. Share the links, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and the next videos I'll be going into labor costing. Until then, enjoy.